Hyatt Riot House on the Sunset Strip. I was standing by Led Zeppelin's shiny black limo, smoothing my pink feather boa, reapplying my gooey Yardley Slicker lip gloss, preparing to slide in next to Jimmy Page for a hot night on the town. As the car slammed, I heard a shrill voice from the gathered throng behind the roped-off area. "Look at that girl! She must be a groupie!" The word made sense. It's true I spent a lot of time hanging out with groups, so I wore the new moniker proudly for a brief spell. It wasn't long before the sparkling, newly minted utterance made it into the dictionary. Alas, the G word quickly became a scurrilous accusation. Some women, claiming to be forward-thinking, began branding groupies as backward-thinking concubines, when all we were doing was exactly what we wanted to do. To this day, the word groupie is usually used as a pointy-fingered put-down, aimed like a poisoned dart at the girls who make it backstage, dancing in the wings, sitting atop amplifiers, climbing aboard private jets, the ones lavishly draped on the arms of much-desired, seemingly unattainable rock stars. There's only one Robert Plant, after all. One Steven Tyler, one Nikki Sixx, one Eminem, and millions of salivating fans. What makes a fan take that precarious leap into the center of the regaled and reviled G-word? For me, it was always the music. The seductive howl of the electric guitar, the throb of the bass, and the sensually moaned promises made my heart beat below my waist. The lyrics. How did they know what was whirling around in my head and pulsing through my veins? Where did it come from? How did they write that song that made me feel so wildly alive? I wanted to be in on the cosmic secret. I wanted to get close to the music, so close to it that I could taste it, and nothing was going to stop me. Now it's 2007, and the groupie mentality hasn't changed. Yes, it's more difficult for music devotees to get close to their heroes, but they will always find a way. While Googling around on the internet, I came across a perceptive piece by Robert J. Lewis from www.artsandopinion.com. I got in touch with him, and he gave me permission to quote from his Guitars, Gonads, and Groupies Are Wild. We mock and deride them, dismiss them as tramps and tarts, in order to disassociate ourselves from the ethos that compels them to give themselves away to total strangers. When we find ourselves inexplicably drawn to the gods who created the B minor Mass and Abbey Road, it is because we are drawn to and want to participate in the very mystery of creation itself. For when all is said and done, the groupie, without apology, is simply and frankly expressing his or her devotion to the principle of creation. That young woman will continue to give themselves away to lead guitarists in tight pants, total strangers known only through their music, confirms the exceptional status of the artist, who by making exceptional demands on himself, commands the means, the groupie, to genetically preserve and transmit his gift. There should be no shame in this. The only shame is to deny the longing. I thought that was pretty cool. It was pretty succinct. Am I going to read this whole thing? Yeah, it's not that much longer. Is this entertaining you? Is this good? Okay. Oh, God, I just don't know. In 2003, Virginia Scharf, a professor of history at the University of New Mexico, wrote the book 20,000 Roads. I wonder where she got that title from. Women, Movement, and the West, with a chapter entitled The Long, Strange Trip of Pamela Des Barres. It felt a little weird being analyzed in a scholarly text with an Indian squaw and a civil rights activist, but at least I was in fascinating company. Quote, to find the story of a woman traversing and remaking the landscape of the counterculture in a more or less skilled and knowledgeable fashion, we need to search no further than the comic, I don't know what she meant by that, and troubling odyssey of self-proclaimed groupie Pamela Miller Des Barres. It was the music that first called Pamela and literally millions of other girls out of themselves in quest of a bigger, wider, higher reality. Later in the chapter, Professor Scharf states, Pamela Des Barres is the Lewis and Clark of wanton women, who prowled the land anew from sea to shining sea. I thought that was just about the, the coolest thing that anybody ever said about me, really. Yikes, I wrote after that, okay. There are actually professors who teach entire courses on the topic. During the last few years, I've heard from several college students writing term papers on the groupie phenomenon. Here's a paragraph from Jessica Wack's 2005 thesis, Groupie Slut or Groupie Goddess? The Paradoxical Nature of Groupies in Rock Culture. Groupies were some of the first sexual warriors, fighting to bag the men they wanted and to fulfill their wildest fantasies. As young women struggling to find their own identities in rock culture, they chose to be with the band and stuck under Mick's thumb. Pretty good. The rabid curiosity about our mythological rock gods, past and present, hasn't abated a smidgen. I hear daily from dolls that desperately want to know how I did it, and how can they meet the rock god of their dreams. I've also heard from women who managed to discover for themselves the heady high of being romantically linked, even for a night, with their favorite unruly rocker. From Elvis's penchant for girls frolicking together in white cotton panties, and top 40 fuckers landing 60s pop idols, to the Rolling Stones' array of infamous supergroupies and Winona Ryder's long list of rock conquests. Dave Pirner, Paul Westerberg, Beck, Conor Oberst, Pete Yorn, Ryan Adams. I'm sure she's still at it. The beat goes on. With so many musicians snapped up by models, porn stars, and actresses, Gwyneth and Chris Martin, Drew Barrymore and Fab Moretti, Dennis Richards, Richie Sambora, Nicole Kidman, Keith Urban, Pamela Anderson, and the groupie's quest is even more difficult. Only a handful of girls are fearless enough to cross the precarious line in the rock and roll danger zone. What does it take to make it past the endless barricades, grim-faced roadies, officious publicists, and stern record company executives? What kind of girl makes it her life's passion to meet the rocker of her dreams? Consequences be damned. Some of the dolls I interviewed shared one or two naughty, unforgettable nights with their dreamboats. Others had delicious, long-term flings and ooh-la-la romances with coveted rock gods, becoming the envy of millions of envious fans. Many had their hearts shattered, but not one of them would take back a single glorious mad night. The music takes on new meaning for the rock muse. She was with the band, and nobody can take it away from her. Once she shared those special moments with the man who rocks her world, her favorite song will never sound the same to her again. According to Rolling Stone, Frank Zappa saw groupies as freedom fighters at the avant-garde of the sexual revolution. You don't hear the term movie gods very often, do you? There aren't many football gods or political gods either, and television stars are never referred to as TV gods. But there are rock gods roaming the earth. Perhaps by embracing their cherished rock gods, groupies tap into their own divinity. The altar was rock and roll, Gal Zappa once said. The guys were the gods and the women were the high priestesses. They still are. Thank you. I'm going to introduce my dear, dear, dearest friend, Patty Darwinville, who really doesn't need much of an introduction, do you, honey? She's an amazing actress, has been in many trillions of movies and TV shows. She's now on Rescue Me and some other new show. What's it called, honey? Anyway, she's doing great. And she also dated many coveted rock gods. And she's writing her own memoirs right now, so she would only tell me about one of her experiences. So she's going to read to you a little bit of that right now. Please welcome.
I'm going to read. No,
oh, that's right. Sorry. She's going to read that later. She's going to read a little bit from the first chapter, because I thought that was a cool idea. Tura Satana was a stripper back then, Miss Japan America. And Miss Japan Beautiful. Thank you, Patty. Patty Johnson's going to read, too. She was with several different rock gods. She's in the book, too. Yeah, Tura Satana. She became Russ Meyer's leading lady in Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. And she's still amazing. Anyway, but Elvis was smitten with her. So Patty's going to read some of that.
And she actually got Elvis.
Yeah, she got Elvis.
Unlike Pamela, who fell in love with somebody and missed her